What's up, guys? It's Crash, and yesterday Rebecka Coutaz, the new general manager that came over from Ubisoft that was hired around the time 2042 launched when Oscar Gabrielson left DICE, has gone around and done a couple of interviews. The ones I found were done from VentureBeat and GameIndustry.biz, and honestly I found a little bit of contradictory information in those, so I want to present that to you guys, react to some of the things that she said, and then hear from you guys down below in the comments what you think of all this. I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, just really quick, there's a lot of content this week going up on the Scope YouTube channel, a lot of clips from last week's really fun, action-packed episode. So if you guys want to check that out, the link to that channel will be down below in the description. So let's go ahead and talk about some of this stuff. I'm going to kind of paraphrase some things, show some quotes on the screen, react to it, and please, hear from you guys. So they talked about what it was like starting out, and she said Electronic Arts and DICE have had difficulties. There was a lot of stuff admitted about how they had a hard time and that they're disappointed with 2042, like many of us are, but there's been a great job ongoing since way before I joined to improve studio culture. Not only the DICE studio involved, but other business units. There have been audits ongoing, and I wanted to talk about this because if you looked at some of my investigative videos talking about what went on behind the scenes at DICE, a lot of Glassdoor reviews talked about how management was causing a lot of issues. They were spearheading things in the game that most of the developers didn't think would go over very well. There was cronyism, nepotism, and stuff like that was just not creating a good culture around DICE. This is based on, just a few employees, so not everyone probably felt this way, but what we have to go on are some of those Glassdoor reviews, and they talked about some not very healthy practices going on behind the scenes. So it's good that when she hired on, she took a little bit of time to check things out. And then she goes on to talk about her management philosophy just a little bit. As in any entertainment industry, if you choose to manage through a stratification system, you'll encounter difficulties. I never did that. I managed through teamwork. Again, a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about is lip service, and it sounds good on paper, but it needs to be enacted. So we're not sure one way or the other if it is or not. But what she talks about here is if you have a stratification, basically a top-down system of ruling where one person or one group has ideas what they want to happen and they just steamroll it through and send it down through the ranks and don't listen to feedback from really talented and smart developers. So what she says is she never did that. She managed through teamwork, which I think is a better way, honestly, to be a supervisor, is approach it from more of a collaborative standpoint, make necessary decisions when you have to. Then they go on to say she kind of admits a little bit of defeat with Battlefield 2042. She says, yes, of course, it was disappointing. It was a disappointing release. Our fans were disappointed and the team here at DICE were disappointed. It was a difficult situation. I'm sure it was. It was difficult for content creators too. It's far from perfect, but we're confident in our commitment and engagement. We're completely focused on 2042. Take note of this. The majority of the team here, plus our colleagues over at Ripple Effect, nothing about Gothenburg or Criterion, are focused on Battlefield 2042. Remember that. In this interview with VentureBeat, she says the majority of the team here, okay? We're going to come back to that. Having teams around the world in different time zones, not having the right kinds of processes that were adapted for remote work and adaptive communication process, that was devastating. So again, reiterating the fact that the pandemic, working from home, made it really rough. The goal, and then she talks about what's going on in the future. She said the goal we have for DICE is to be on the powerhouse behind Battlefield, to be one of the powerhouses in first-person shooters worldwide. DICE deserves to be the powerhouse that it should be in FPS, together with the team here at DICE and the Battlefield franchise with Byron, Vince, Marcus, and Alex. That's what we're going to do. So in another interview, or I can't remember which one it was, she also put out a statement. She said in 3 years, they want DICE to be one of the powerhouses in the FPS industry. So I don't know if we're still on track with Andrew Wilson's 2 years to the next Battlefield, or if they've moved that back to 3 or whatever. But in 2 to 3 years, stuff is going to start happening with the next iteration of whatever Battlefield is going to be. What we're doing now with Battlefield together with Byron, Vince, Marcus, and Alex is what the team here at DICE has been dreaming about for years, and they couldn't do it. Again, alluding to how people were being held back by upper management before. So The last thing I have on here is we have to make right choices, but we also have to be ambitious. We have to be able to innovate and take risks. To be able to innovate and take risks, you have to lean, agile organization so you can test and fail fast. I was a little bit, I don't know about this statement. It makes me a little bit uneasy. Battlefield does not need to innovate very much. Honestly, they need to keep the same tried and true Battlefield formula that got them to where they are, make minor tweaks, innovations to improve gameplay, modernize mechanics, movement, and engines. But please give us Battlefield back. You know what I mean? My dream is to be able to provide a spot-defined gameplay experience, again talking about the future, that's adapted to each player. If you're a great sniper at 150 meters, or maybe you're a bad sniper like me at more like 36 meters, we know that, and we'll provide an experience for you. That's my dream. And this was really weird. This is when she was asked about one of the main ideas is a combination of human game design, user-generated content. So like we talked about on the scope about Halo Forge being community generated content and AI together is going to be needed in order to create these vast worlds. And she talks about like adaptive spot defined gameplay experiences that's different between people. And I just want Battlefield, man. We don't give, and then they talked about how have you gotten into thousands or are you still hundreds? They talked about how many people do you have across DICE now. Great question, GamesBeat. We don't have exact figures, but we're still in the hundreds, but we're also still recruiting. And then she talks about in one of the interviews how there are a lot of positions open at DICE. So let's go back to what she talked about earlier. If you guys remember, I said to key on where she said the majority of the studio, okay? The majority, what does that mean? Most, okay? So if you go over here on this Deserto article, they talked about DICE general manager denies work on any project besides Battlefield 2042. So she said the majority is working on 2042, then she says nobody's working on anything else. Well, what is that minority working on? So then we go over to another interview with GameIndustry.biz, and she says totally, we're only focusing on Battlefield 2042. I think this is where Deserto got their information. There is no time for anything else, and that's what we want to do. In 3 years, this is what I was talking about, we want to be the first person shooter powerhouse that DICE deserves to be, and that's what we're going for. So in one article, you have her saying the majority of everyone, excluding some of the studios, is still working on 2042. And over here, she says, we're only working on 2042. So I'm curious to what's going on over there. It's a little bit contradictory in my opinion. It sounds like some. And then we also have reports from Jeff Grubb. We've talked about this quite a bit. That sounds like a skeleton crew. The content would elude us, would lead us down the path to think there is a skeleton crew with only one map. I can't imagine what it's going to be like if there literally is only one map per season for 4 total post-launch maps, when that used to be one map pack from the premium days. But anyway, guys, I wanted to know what you guys think. A lot of it overall, in my opinion, is lip service. We're at the point right now where I don't really care what they have to say. I want to see some action. So far, it has not been good. One map, one gun, one crossbow. A battle pass for an entire season after a year is really rough. Some of the things she talks about, shows us why that happened. But I still had to pay the full price for it. So I'm looking for more here, and hopefully we do see that. Honestly, the design decisions of the exposure map give me hope for the next Battlefield. It felt better. It felt like more like a Battlefield map. I don't foresee myself really getting hardcore back into Battlefield 2042. It really disappointed me, and I also really don't appreciate how the community has been treated and been conditioned to expect less for the same price or even more in a lot of cases. I just don't appreciate that, and I don't really want to support it too much, but I definitely love talking about this news with you guys. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I hope to see you on the next one.